Hi, I'm Mark Mazzaferro, and it's time for another episode of Fire Facts. And with us, as always, on Fire Facts is Fire Chief Chris Concepcion. Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Awesome.
You know, we had a regular gig going there for a while, didn't we?
We did, yeah. Got
But
used
we
to working with
stopped.
each other.
Yeah, we stopped. We stopped for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I got tired of getting kicked on Facebook. I'll be quite frank. And I was like, okay, we're just trying to help people,
Yeah,
right?
I know, we're
Just
trying to give information out, right?
provide some
Yeah.
solid information, factual information, you know, nothing we made up, right?
Right,
But
right,
holy cow, you'd have thought we were the blasphemers of the world, but oh well, we've moved on, haven't we?
We have, and here we are back giving more information out.
And that's why we're doing this, you know.
Yes.
I mean, Fire Facts is a regular feature on our channel and our
Absolutely.
social media channels. So why not? Let's keep going. Some things change, some things remain the same.
Right,
All
absolutely.
right. So, and of course, we are going to talk about COVID-19 today.
We are, yeah.
You know, and when these things happen, it always seems to fall on the fire department to handle these things. You know, it was H1N1, it was avian flu, and now coronavirus. Why? Is it because of the medical bent of the things you guys do over there?
I think that's one thing, but you know, as I've always said, being a firefighter or the fire department really is a misnomer anymore, and that is because of the fact that we're all risk emergency responders.
Sure.
So, and it kind of stems from the fact that our fire stations were there for good reason. They're placed strategically throughout the city to be so that we can get anywhere in the city in a very short amount of time. And because of that, all the duties and all the emergencies kind of fell on the fire department, and the fire department is willing to take on all of those things. You know, when I was a young firefighter, hazardous materials was just becoming a thing. And they said, "Oh, well, the fire department can do that."
Let them handle it.
Do
Sure.
that. And then before I came on, you know, with the medical stuff, you know, they found out that people were dying of heart attacks and not getting to the hospital in time. So they said, "Well, we have a bunch of firefighters that are able to do that, so let's train them all up." And I think that's kind of what it is. And then the other thing too is the fire department by default is responsible for emergency management for the city, and this truly is an emergency, and so that's why it falls on the fire department.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I say this kind of half jokingly.
Yeah.
It's not like you guys are putting out a lot of fires anymore either. I mean, look at the way they build houses with sprinklers and fire retardant stuff. Things are a little different now than they were 50 years ago, 40 years ago, however long.
Absolutely, and the fire department has absolutely adapted to all of that. And the thing that a lot of people have to realize that our priority number one is prevention, and it's prevention of us ever having to respond. I mean, that's really is what it is. So
you guys are insurance embodied.
Absolutely. We know that we're going to have to respond, but we really want to prevent having to. So therefore, we want to prevent fires. We want to prevent disease, like, you know, we want to prevent heart attacks. We want to prevent strokes. You know, so those are high priorities for us. And we, you know, any kind of emergency, our higher priority is actually to prevent any of that stuff to happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So I put some notes together, and I kind of chuckled because one of the notes I made was to talk about 3 Ps here in Vacaville: parks, playgrounds, and pools. And COVID-19, and I don't want. That look on your face says it all.
I've learned more about those 3 Ps in the last month or so than I've ever wanted to know.
Yeah, but.
Yeah.
You know, the weather's getting warm and people want to go outside. They want to get in the pool. They want to take their kid to the playground. But they really can't yet, can they? They're not supposed to.
They are not supposed to, unfortunately. And I hate having it. I mean, we're going on 3 months here, right? And we've started off, they've said, close the playground, so we close the playgrounds. Close the basketball courts, so we closed the basketball courts. Close the pool, so we did that. And I've hated doing any of that stuff, but according to the science, and that's what we're following, according to the science, the risk of spreading COVID-19 through those surfaces is higher. So that's why we keep it. So let's start with the biggest thing that prevents it and I've read more than than I've ever wanted to, but we continue to read the science behind COVID-19. But it still holds true that the best way to prevent the spread of COVID-19 is through physical distancing.
Right.
Is to keep a certain distance away from you, between you and other people. And then the next thing is to prevent any droplets that get onto surfaces, and there are all kinds of studies that say that it can last on surfaces, it can't last on surfaces, but because it's a droplet, the viruses may stay in that. And so that's the reason why the playgrounds are closed. So, and then as far as basketball, they don't want you playing basketball or being in close contact with people that are not in your family unit, and so therefore that's why basketball is still closed.
And pools?
Pools is right now we are almost there. So there are some pools that are actually, per the state, are allowed to open. And so if you have let's say for example, gyms are allowed to open now here in Solano County and the state, and if there's a pool in your gym, those are allowed to open. But as far as the municipal pool, like the Graham Aquatic Center,
right,
we've been trying to get the final word from the state and the county. There are some differences. They're saying as long as you don't need a lifeguard, but a municipal pool requires a lifeguard. So therefore, until such time that lifeguards can't, we can use the pool with a lifeguard, then we can't open it up.
Gotcha. So people who live in an apartment complex or an HOA that has a pool, can those pools open?
Yes.
They can open?
Yes.
Okay, good. I get that question every day. Yeah. I get pools, playgrounds, and parks every day.
Yeah.
And anytime I post anything on any of our social media channels, well, how about this? How about that?
Then that's the frustrating part, Mark, is there's a lot of nuances in this whole thing, and the further we go on in this process, the more complicated it seems like it gets.
Right.
And that's we were hoping for more simple. It would be so simple to just say, I'll give you the one thing that's really frustrating me right now, and I would imagine frustrating the business owners more so than it frustrates me right now, because they can't get a straight answer. Massage therapy.
Right.
So massage therapy by itself, not allowed. But massage therapy, if it's connected to in conjunction with chiropractic or physical therapy, that's allowed. So,
and the difference is, who knows, right?
I'm not a massage therapist, so I don't know. I don't know those little nuances.
Right,
but according to the state,
there's a difference.
There's a difference, and one can happen and one can't. Yeah. And so that's why I think there's so much frustration out in the community that and we share some of those frustrations, because I spend a good portion of my day on the phone with the county, on the phone with the state, as well as a lot of my staff are doing the same thing, trying to get answers. So it becomes difficult.
And let's reemphasize that point, what you just said. Our direction comes from the county, which gets its direction from the state.
Yes.
We're not in an office somewhere saying, okay, are we going to open up the pools this week, or how shall we let barbers and salons open? That's not us.
Absolutely not. No, we are looking at, and we watch the county websites and the state website every day. We look at it. We take a look and see what kind of guidances have been put out by the state. We confirm that those guidances have then been approved by the county, and that they're on their website and linked, and then we start helping the business owners interpret, whether they can or they can't. And there are, you know, there are businesses out there that have different services. Some services they can start. For example, you know, is helping a business owner out. You know, they have red light therapy that, you know, that I believe is used for pain management. Mm-hmm. So that is allowed to go on. Mm-hmm. But some of the other services that they have within that business are not allowed to. And it's not as simple as looking at a list. It's sometimes, you know, looking to say, okay, what that particular service, what category does it fall under, or does it fall under this category? And so we've been spending a lot of time doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to push the responsibility off on the state or the county, but we don't have, and you've said this many times, we don't have a health department, we don't have a health officer. If we did, maybe things would be a little different. I don't know that they would be that much different, because as much authority as that person might have, they still answer to the state and the county.
Yeah, the county still has to answer to the state.
Right.
This city, even though the county has their own public health officer, he still has to answer to the state. Mm-hmm. And the state has made it very clear to the counties that the state dictates what is going on. Right. You know, through the attestation process and all that. But I want our residents to know, and our community to know, that, you know, we want to help the business owners. So that's our aim. If we can help you by contacting the state and the county, we're going to try to do that. We'll do the dig. We'll try to do the digging for you to the extent that we can. We'll try that, because we want to provide, at least, at the very least, we need to, at the city level, provide a good customer service interaction between us and our business owners.
Right, and that's something I was just going to say, is that it's while I don't want to make it sound like we're powerless, because our council has been in contact with the county more than once.
Absolutely, they've written letters, you know, in support of our business owners, mm-hmm. And they are, as a council, they have the back of our business community. I'm certain of it, because they're pushing the county, and the county is pushing the state, and so I think the council definitely is supporting our business owners.
And while we're on the whole business side of it, I would say I've spent half of my time working with our economic development director to update our website, put information on there about what they can do, about what businesses are open, what businesses are closed, what's available.
Right.
So clearly, we're trying to do as much as we can to help these businesses.
Absolutely. I mean, our very existence depends on it, right? It's
right.
Small business owners in Vacaville that really make this city go. So the sooner that our business owners can get back into business and get back to work and providing the services or selling the goods and supplies that they have, the more vibrant our community becomes. So we can't wait for our city to be absolutely all the way open back up.
Yeah, so Memorial Day is come and gone, and we're into summer,
yes.
And now they're saying that there's an increase in cases, and they think it's because of Memorial Day, protesting, et cetera, et cetera. That's got to be almost expected, doesn't it? I mean, as much as you want people to stay home and...
Yeah, I mean, we've been, actually we had this discussion, my command staff and I were discussing this, and we've been reading articles on that, and some of the articles that we have read, as far as the protests are concerned, probably too early to tell whether or not that's going to cause a spike. Anecdotal data would think that it would, but we don't know that yet.
Right.
However, they are actually looking at an increase in social gatherings during Memorial Day.
Right.
That's causing the spike that we're seeing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which kind of proves the point of social distancing.
yes, absolutely.
The importance of it.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. We could talk for hours about COVID-19.
We could. Yes.
Nobody wants to see that.
No, they don't.
I
don't think I want to.
No,
either.
and I don't want to talk about
Yeah.
it for hours either. I do that at home. So let's talk about the fire season, which apparently is here.
It is.
I didn't think it started in June. I thought it was August, September, October. But
typically Typically, it starts a little bit later. In Northern California, it'll start a little bit earlier than it does in Southern California. But typically, it starts a little bit later. You know, you're talking August, September, October.
Yeah.
You know, that's when the north winds really kick in. But we actually had a west wind on Saturday, and the Quail Fire started, and that carried, and it was really quick. Very quickly became. It went to over 1,800 acres. Now, none of it never threatened the city of Vacaville. It was always it started to our north and west, and then it grew and spread towards the east, being fueled by that west wind. But it was burning the entire time. It was burning to the north of our city. So. Yeah. That was, you know, I believe it's at about 90% contained now.
It's 100% now, according to the Cal Fire website.
Oh,
so,
did they? Okay,
yeah,
they updated.
they
Okay, this
it,
morning it was at 90%. So.
Yeah, I checked this afternoon.
Okay.
They say it's out. So,
okay, yeah.
Which is good, but it's a little disconcerting to look out the window of my house and see the hill, the glow of the fire. You know, that kind of tells you this is not a little grass fire.
No, I was watching the. I was actually driving. I live on the north end of town, and I was driving home, I think, from the grocery store, and I saw a little puff of smoke, and it kind of disappeared. And I looked for it, and by the time I got to my driveway, there was a huge column, you know, that I can see to the north of the city. So it happened very quickly last Saturday.
Yeah. But it actually got put out pretty quick too, compared to 3 days.
Yeah, for
that strikes me as fast.
With the amount of wind that it had on it, and they really needed to get on top of it, because I think it was it Monday evening that they had the north winds blowing, so
right.
That could have blown it south towards Vacaville. So Cal Fire and we had some engines on there too. We provided mutual aid, but. The folks that were on that fire did a great job of securing the perimeter of that fire quickly.
And I think it's unusual. You tell me. Fires always look closer than they really are. Like when I looked out, I live in North Village. I look out my window and it looks like that area where they're building all those new homes. It's all grassy. I'm thinking, they're grass fire, because we've had one of those.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and it's like, that's not a grass fire.
No.
That's when I finally reached out to you and you said,
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And, looking out. I went to my driveway and looked north, and that thing looked like it was, really close.
Yeah.
But, but I'm able to see where the incidents are, and I looked up the address of the incident, and it was actually a few miles away. So
yeah, right. Wasn't even relatively speaking, it wasn't close.
Right, exactly. We had a lot of land between us and the fire, so it was a good thing.
So what kind of precautions can people take, if anything, when they're out and about to, we don't know what caused this fire right now, or do we? Have you heard?
We know it's still under investigation.
Okay.
It's still under investigation, yeah.
So, but I was watching a show, I got to tell you, I'm getting old, Chief. I've sat there and watched the Weather Channel.
Right.
I think that's a sign that, because I like the Weather Channel. They got cool stuff on there. Anyway, they were talking about fires, and they were showing some statistics, and here in the United States, I want to say 70-some% of fires are caused by people.
Yes.
And when I say caused by them, that doesn't mean arson. That means activities, camping, sparks from mowing the lawn. There is some arson in there, but
right.
a large majority of the fires are caused by people.
Yes, a large majority of wildland fires are what we call human caused. Very few of them are on purpose. Many of them are by accident. And so to answer your question as far as what can people do, be more careful out there. Especially when we have red flag day, and that is when we've got winds blowing out of the north, we got gusty winds, anything that's 20, 25 miles an hour or over, and if it's blowing from the north or blowing from the east, that'll tell you those winds are probably very, very dry. It takes all the moisture out of the air, and any little spark can start a fire and spread that fire very quickly.
Yeah.
and a lot of fire. And so if, for example, on a hot day like that, and if you're going to be mowing your lawn, right, or clearing a brush or anything, using a weed whacker or anything like that where you can cause a spark, get that stuff done. Well, if there's a wind, don't do it, right? But get that stuff done very, very early, like before 10 o'clock in the morning, before it gets too hot. That's one of the things. And then if it's it's a hot, dry, windy day, don't have any outside fires. You know, some people like to have, you know, the fire, you know, the fire pits in their backyard and stuff, and those are legal. They can do that, but very bad idea when, you know, when you've got a hot, dry, windy day. So
Well,
those are the type of things that.
It's dry in Vacaville anyway. As a rule, the humidity is not real high around
No,
here.
it's
and
not.
then when you add the wind and the other elements, that just makes
Right.
it a lot worse.
Yeah, and one of the things that I saw, I think it was last year, I was actually coming back to work from lunch, and somebody had flicked on a hot, dry, windy day, somebody had flicked a cigarette out and caught the duff by the curb, and that was spreading
Quick.
very quickly.
Sure.
Yeah, so those are the things that you can do to prevent fire.
Well, we're familiar with big fires around here, certainly in the middle of our community, from the one at Lagoon Valley to the one last year that went over the hill. Did they ever figure out what caused that? I mean, it must be very complicated to, how do you
You're talking about
pinpoint?
the Nelson fire?
Yes, Nelson fire.
So the Nelson fire, the best that they could tell, that was most likely some hot material from a car. And so it started off from what they could tell, started from the freeway. And it's not uncommon for a car to lose a catalytic converter and drops on the ground, and then
Sparks fly.
it sparks those catalytic converters are very hot. If it drops off of the car, catches any of the brush, and then it's off to the races for any fires.
Yeah, that was crazy. So I guess just be careful.
Be very, yeah, I mean, that's it.
Kind of
yeah.
goes without saying, doesn't
It
it?
goes without saying. And the other thing too is, you know, our code enforcement folks are out there as far as weed abatement. Very important that people clear out their brush. They're starting to, as of June 1st, they started doing inspections. We've sent out the notices, I believe, starting in April, but June 1st is when we expect everybody to have their brush cleared, and if they're not, then we start citing. And I know people get a little bit angry about that, but they have to understand that, you know, if we don't clear that brush, and sometimes that's the only thing that saves us as far as is having that brush cleared. I've been to a couple of fires on windy days here that if not for the brush being cleared, we could have had much bigger fires.
What is it, 20 feet, 30 feet that we asked from the fence to,
I believe it's 30 feet.
30? Yeah.
Yeah, 30 feet.
so yeah, 30 feet. And sometimes that's not enough even.
No.
As hard as that is to believe, you think 30 feet's a long way, but when it's windy and
When
there's
it's
a fire.
windy, all bets are off. Yeah.
All right, so our guys went and helped put out the Quail Fire, and they're
Yeah.
all back safe and sound, no
Yes.
problem?
Yeah,
Good,
absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
Anything else going on in the fire department we want to talk? It's nice to talk about fires for a while.
Yeah.
Change there. That was,
Exactly,
That was kind
exactly.
of refreshing. I
And-
enjoyed that.
And speaking of fires, so we are not going to be doing our training burns on Callan Hill this year. So I would imagine that's probably good news to some people on Callan Hill. But we'll be back doing it next year. We just figured this year with all the COVID stuff going on, we won't be. So we're asking everybody to please be careful because now that's going to leave a hill on the interior of our city with a lot of unburned fuel. And there's a good reason. We get that question every year. Why do you burn Callan? You know, why do you have to burn that hill? It's right in the middle of the city, and we burn it because we want to burn it while we've got control of it.
Right.
We don't want it burning with us not having control of it. And so we're just afraid, you know, with 4th of July coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the other thing too is a reminder to our residents that fireworks are illegal here in Vacaville. So we ask that you be careful and don't, even the safe and sane are illegal.
Yeah. Well, I know that we make a big push every year to get that message out, and we will do it again this year. And
Yep.
hopefully, I think every year more people get the message, but there's always some who don't.
Yes. Yeah.
And some who do and ignore it, which is fine too. But
Yeah.
but there are consequences.
Yeah, we will have our firefighter. We upstaff every 4th of July. We always expect trouble on 4th of July
Yeah,
as far as
yeah.
fires are concerned. So I mean, 29 years in the fire service, I can't remember a 4th of July that I haven't been to a fire.
Worked. Yeah.
Yeah,
Been
so.
out there, sure. All right. Well, Chief, thank you very much for all the great information. And thank you all for watching this episode of Fire Facts. We will see you next time.